All right, Brian Tripp joins us. My friend, welcome back.
Steve, great to be with you. It's funny you mentioned that about Kobe starting his career slow. With Fox Big Noon in town last weekend, really cool. It was great to see the guys on the set and to have Joel Clack, Gus Johnson, Jenny Taft for the first time. But we did a little piece with Reggie Bush on Friday, and he said he was so impressed on film by Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen that he was looking forward to seeing them in person. And the big thing he said in the little interview I did with him was, remember, I never had, and this is hands down top, 5, 10, 15 college football player of all time possibly. I didn't have that success my freshman year. He was blown away the success those two freshman backs have had for Penn State this year in the Big Ten as true freshmen. And I thought that was pretty poignant to me to hear that type of commentary from a guy like Reggie Bush.
But also something else that Reggie Bush had in common as he matured, he had Lendale White, where he didn't have to be in the backfield every day. That's why when I look at the dynamic of Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, you have to think about it in those terms. It's not just one guy.
Yeah, I think that's a great comparison. I think you look at some of the great backfields that Wisconsin has had through the years. It hasn't been one-trick pony. Ohio State hasn't had just one guy. And today's game has changed. Look at the professional ranks in the NFL. You can't rely on just one guy anymore. And I think their skill sets really complement each other the way that we've seen Katron Allen, that one cut and burst, the explosive plays of Nicholas Singleton. I like the way it's not necessarily that thunder and lightning combination, but I think it's the modern 1-2 punch that those two possess. I really like the foundation they've laid this year and continue to lay this year, and then what it could mean for the future for Penn State football.
It's also a bounce-back week for Penn State after what was a tough, hard-fought football game on Saturday. What kind of read do you have on the guys?
Yeah, I thought their fight was great last weekend. I thought they went toe-to-toe with one of the top teams in the country, as you said, for 3.5 of probably the 4 hours that they were out there on the field. I thought this week, I think the guys are excited for an opportunity to bounce back. The leadership is so strong on the team. This is where you lean on your Jair Brown, P.J. Mustipher, Sean Clifford. I just think the leadership has them poised to bounce back in a big way. They know they can still accomplish something pretty special this year. And it all starts by going 1-0 this week. But I think this is where Jair Brown, yeah, he's the voice of the defense, but in a lot of ways, and this isn't to discredit some of the other guys I just mentioned, but his leadership really, really carries significant weight for every single person in that locker room. And this is where a player like him is so valuable.
Well, and P.J. Mustipher.
Yep.
Mustipher will, very few people are better at talking than PJ is, as a matter of fact. The hockey team, because Guy Godowski will be the opening guest tonight on the coaches show this evening.
Yeah, I was going to send you a list of questions, but I figured you had it covered.
Yeah. When you look at, let's start in goal, because one of the stars of the week in the Big Ten, that's where it all starts. I know that goals are given up based on how the offense plays, but what's your thought on how he's played?
Yeah, I think Liam Solier has carried over from where he left off last season, and it's really impressive how he got to where he was at last season. He came in here as a freshman, and he was behind Oscar Audio, and he came in there last year, and he was behind Oscar Audio and had to earn his starts, and he just had a great demeanor. He was a great teammate, great mentality about it. And as the season went on, he is the guy that earned the position. To say earned the job, you don't hear that all the time in sports these days. He had to battle and earn it. I think his maturity, the way he conducted himself in the locker room, really won over his teammates. His teammates loved playing in front of him. And the more reps that he started to get in goal, I think the more confident he was. And we saw him in the Big Ten tournament last year make some huge saves down the stretch in the game against Ohio State that ultimately, that game 3, game 2 as well, the two games that they needed in Columbus to rally from a 1-0 deficit to win, to become the first Big Ten team to win a Big Ten road series in Big Ten tournament action. So I thought he was great there, and I think that confidence carried over through the offseason. I think he knew coming into the year he was the guy, and he took that and ran with it, not in a way of, I can be complacent. more in a way that I really have to take my game to another level. And that impressed me even more about him. I think he's just carried that confidence over this year. And what was really impressive about the series at Wisconsin, he made 63 saves on 64 shots. To be honest with you, the team play in front of him was terrific, where he didn't have to come up with grade A saves time and time again. And that's the type of performance that you're hoping as a whole team, that sometimes that can reflect also on the goaltender. But he's been really good.
Which really helps. I mean, obviously you were with us, so you weren't out at Wisconsin, but what's the read you did get from others who were there?
Yeah, I was able to watch both the games as well as having the football game at noon. I thought they played really tough. I thought they played hard. The first game, Penn State, for the first time this year, fell behind 1-0, rallied right away, took a 2-1 lead, had opportunities on odd man rushes, hit a couple of posts, had some power play chances, and never could extend that 2-1 lead. They couldn't get it to 3-1, 4-1, and you felt like, oh, man, they missed their opportunity to go in front by more. Wisconsin had an empty net situation at the end, power play at the end, and Penn State weathered that storm. So to me, that was really impressive to see them get that experience of coming from behind on the road and to weather a storm when you're not putting up. This is a team that had scored 5, 6, 7 goals per game in the opening 3 weekends. To have that experience of playing a tight game against a Big Ten team and finding a way to get it done. And then it's kind of the same story in many ways on Saturday, except they didn't have to play from behind. They took a 1-0 lead, carried that into the third period, but again, had some power play chances, didn't until the early in the third period take that 2-goal lead, but they finally cashed in on the power play, got another goal, got it up to 3-0, and ended up winning it 4-0. So I think you saw the team's resiliency. I think you saw them really grind and fight, and you saw their depth because they got great production from their fourth line. Xander Lampa, who was not a center coming into this year, has played great as the center. And I know Guy doesn't like to label them 1, 2, 3, and 4 as lines because he loves their depth. But I think anyone would tell you on paper that's kind of the line that would be labeled as a number 4. Tyler Paquette got a big goal for them from a sharp angle, and they played to their identity. So you're seeing their depth, young defensemen going on the road for the first time. And to come out of there with a sweep, I know Wisconsin might not be projected to make an NCAA tournament this year or win the conference, but still Wisconsin, really talented team to beat on the road in their house, where Penn State hasn't had great numbers the last couple of tries.
Well, not only that, though, I think we all knew Penn State could score. I feel like they play better defensively, especially in the past 2 or 3 weeks. What's been your thought on that?
No, I completely agree with that as well. And for them, oftentimes the best defense is a great offense, and that, you know, it's not to take away from their structure and their defensive end, where I think they've been good. I think they've been able to limit. So often when you think defense in hockey, it's what do you do from your own blue line back to the goal.
Right.
But but that's not the case. Defense is not giving up odd man rushes. Defense is moving the puck out of your own zone quickly to avoid the forecheck of the other team. And I think those are 2 areas they've really, really excelled in. And they're doing it with 3 freshmen typically playing every night back on D. Jared Crespo, Carter Shade, and Dylan Gratton have all been really impressive. They have offensive instincts, and they've gotten production offensively from defensemen. Well, when those guys are hopping into the rush or making a play deep in the other zone, that's where you need your forwards to be responsible defensively. So I think they've played a really good team game, and that's something, as you said, Steve, that's gotten better every week.
All right, back to football. You're on that sideline, and you're listening to these guys all the time and the communication on the sideline. Give everybody just a feel of what it's like there, because the fan is sitting in the stands. Jack and I are sitting up in the booth.
Yeah, I think so often you think, okay, these guys are down there, and look, fans, because of all the television cameras today, and if you're sitting at home watching the game, you probably have a bit of a read on it. But if you're an offensive player and the defense is on the field, you're not watching the defense. You're sitting there with your position coach, your other guys in your position group, and you're going over on the whiteboard plays, schemes, adjustments you can make. Some of that conversation is coach-led. Some of that conversation is player-led. Then if there's a big play or you sense it's a third down and you got a chance to come back on the field, that's when those position groups will break, maybe take a peek up at the the video board to see what's going on, but they're not. All those players that are standing in front on the sidelines aren't the ones who are typically starters or a part of the game plan in the game. So it's interesting to see the different adjustments. I think we talked last week about how Ohio State started to adjust to Penn State's running game in the start of the second half. So then you see Jaywan Sider and Phil Troutwine and Mike Yurcich over there. They'll have a brief conversation. They'll go and part ways and talk with their different position groups. And just to see the little adjustments and tweaks that they're trying to make, or Sean Clifford calls over a wide receiver and, tells Parker Washington, hey, break that route a little sharper off in this direction. Or he's been so great working with the younger quarterbacks, if something happens on a play, that dynamic of him teaching Drew Aller or Christian or Bo what he saw on that play and then picking his brain. So it really is a constant dialogue and conversation on the sideline. And then look, on big plays where someone goes into the end zone or a turnover, that entire group celebrates. I really feel like they're a close-knit group because of the leadership we talked about. But it is an interesting perspective to be on the field. You think after the game, how many plays do they actually see? But they really only see and are involved in the plays that they're in the game. Other times they're learning, adapting, growing, and having conversations amongst themselves on the sidelines.
In doing this job, what did you find out about being down there that you didn't know before?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. That's a really good question. Oh, man. Well, I can tell you that the bike and the tent aren't exactly magical, even though we think they are.
As you know, I refer to it as the magic tent, the magic bike.
Steve, I think it's how big and how fast. Just to watch an entire game from the field, no matter which team, whether it's Penn State playing Ohio State, Penn State playing Indiana, or Penn State playing a team from the MAC, the speed, the size, the physicality, until you're right down there on the field next to it, I don't know that it really hits home and strikes you just how freakish of athletes these guys are at this level and how much they're putting their bodies on the line every single week.
That's what I tell people when they go there. I said, if a player runs near you, do not try to slow them down or hold them up. I tell them that because I said, you'll be shocked at how fast they are actually going, and you could get hurt actually attempting to stop them. Just by reaching an arm out, you could.
100%.
Yeah, and that's what people don't realize. Brian, always a pleasure. See you on the plane tomorrow.
Sounds good. I'll have your jerky ready.
Yeah. Another running joke.
Don't forget your notes. Might as well get all the running jokes in.
Yeah, notes. I think the jerky, I tap it on it, says, are we supposed to eat this? It's like, I don't think so. All right.
Take care, Steve.
See you, Brian.